Hello and welcome to Who Wore It Better, where I review Raw and SmackDown back-to-back and try and figure out which show won for the week. Well, I am back here at the home base for this episode of the show, back from my trip to Oregon. I had a great time visiting family and friends. Not only did I get to see Weird Al in concert on Thursday for the first time since I was in middle school, which is really great to see him there live in concert. I also went and saw Defy when they came to Portland on Saturday night. I went with a friend and we had a great time at the show. I thought Darby Allin and Shane Strickland was the best match of the night. Matt's Seidel versus Riddle was a close second, but that was a great match. A night of great action. You know, I've talked about Defy in the past, and I've certainly heard about them, and I've read about them, but I never actually went and saw a show until I was there in person. Fortunately, they were touring Portland. They're based out of Seattle, so very serendipitous that the show is happening while I was there that weekend. And so if anyone in the Northwest can get to see a Defy show, I highly recommend it. It's great stuff. They have a great thing going there. So that's my little spiel for that. Let's get on with the shows. Braun Strowman opens Raw and cuts a really solid promo about Money in the Bank. He's interrupted by Finn Balor, who slaps Braun in the face. Then he gets dumped on his ass by Braun, as one might expect. Kurt Angle comes out and makes a rematch for the two of these guys from last week. Right then and there, Kevin Owens joins commentary, and boy, I can't imagine where this is going to go. Graves calls Coach Monday Night Saxon at one point in commentary, which is probably one of the biggest burns of the night. Braun shoulder tackles Finn. There's a great spot here where he shoulder tackles Finn on the outside over the barricade and into the waiting arms of some local talent who was sitting in the front row as planned. So that was kind of really a very powerful spot for Braun. Kevin gets on the live mic and taunts both Finn and Braun throughout the matchup. And then when Finn's making his big comeback, he hits one coup de grace on Braun, goes for a second one, but Kevin knocks him off the turnbuckle. Match ends in disqualification. Kevin grabs a ladder, but Braun intercepts it and tosses it like 40 some odd feet into the air toward the ramp as Kevin is running away. Very narrowly misses the ladder there does Kevin. He runs away. I didn't expect this match to end conclusively in the first place, especially once Kevin Owens showed up. The writing was on the wall there. You know, the action was good while it lasted, but ultimately just had some spinning wheels. We get Elias in the ring. He starts to sing a song, but he keeps stalling and stalling. Finally, Seth Rollins interrupts him. He's getting ready for his match up next against Jinder Mahal, the title match that was booked last week as a result of the tag team match. We see a stare down between Seth and Elias, and so one might surmise a match between them is happening in the future. The match goes on. It's a pretty decent match as Sunil gets thrown out of the match. Jinder grabs a chair and hits Seth with it, but it's still not enough to put Rollins away in the match here. Seth buckle bombs Sunil, who doesn't leave just yet. Buckle bombs him into Jinder, which I thought was a pretty fun spot there. Seth snaps, beats up Jinder and Sunil with the chair. Match ends in a disqualification. After the match, Elias breaks the guitar over the back of Seth, who's on the announce table, so he does a rolling flip onto the floor from the announce table. So kind of a big drop for him onto the floor there. And then as soon as he hits it, you see the shot of Elias. We cut to commercial, which I thought was actually really great. I think I love the timing of that because it really adds to the chaos of boom, oh my god, this thing happens, fade to black. You don't really have time to like process and go, oh my god, you don't see a replay or anything like that. It just goes right to commercial. After break, we see him almost getting stretchered out, but he gets up under his own power and walks away. Some fans try to sing happy birthday to Seth as he's getting stretchered, which I thought was kind of funny. Two matches in a row ending in disqualification finishes. You can justify each of them like as to why they would end that way individually, but to have them back to back like that in the same first hour, I think when there's like not that much, when there aren't that many matches in the first hour, I think it's a little excessive. We then get one of the strangest segments of the whole night as Nia Jax takes on Michelle Webb, local talent, but as Nia is making her way to the ring, Ronda Rousey comes out and goes to the announce table. So Nia uses this chance to show Ronda just what she's going to do to her at Money in the Bank, and so she just beats the hell out of this Michelle Webb woman. First, she powers out of the armbar attempt by picking her up and powerbombing her. Then she hits like a Samoan drop, leg drop, rolling senton, all while providing running commentary to Ronda as she's sitting there kind of smiling to herself. Are we just going to forget the fact that Nia lost to Asuka via armbar not too long ago? Like maybe she was in the hole for so long in that matchup, but now she's just impervious to arm bars. Like you can do it. It's like, hey, my arm is just, it's numb. You can't do anything to it because I was in the armbar for like a half hour with Asuka. So there you go. So Nia beats this woman and calls Ronda down to the ring. Ronda gets in there and shoots her with the mean glare, the stance and everything. And Nia just shrugs it off and laughs in her face like, that Jedi bullshit's not going to work on me. And then she just walks away, and that's the segment. Now here's the thing. I actually enjoyed this version of Nia Jax, this kind of like mocking heel thing we're seeing from her now. Like it was, I think this is a better version of heel Nyah than like when she debuted and she was just the strong, silent heel that she was before. But of course, the one snag with this Nia Jax heel turn we have now is like, wait a minute, weren't we just cheering on Nia Jax because she stood up to bullies and she was saying be a star and she was supposed to be this big inspiration, this big hero? Now she's like beating up this woman who's half her size, who's not on the same level as her, and then she just laughs in Ronda's face, walks away. Like was Alexa Bliss right this whole time? Was Nia Jax really the bully all along? It's so weird. It's so for her to do this kind of character move so soon after Backlash and WrestleMania, when she was doing all this thing with Alexa over the whole bullying thing and the fat shaming thing, and now she's in this heel mode. I think the timing is just a little off. It's a combination of like, wait a minute, now all of a sudden she doesn't care about the armbar when she lost to it via Asuka a while back, and now she's doing these things that Alexa Bliss like claims she did, and people, oh no, don't do that. So now like the heel's right? It's so confusing. Also, if the Nia Jax heel turn is here to stay, other than Ronda Rousey, is there any other credible babyface in the division at this moment? It's very much skewed toward heels on the Raw Women's side. So if Nia Jax turns heel and stays that way, who else is really left? I mean, Natalya's kind of a babyface now due to her association with Ronda Rousey, but I don't think that's going to last very long either. So, after a tag team match where Matt and Bray beat the Ascension in some non-title action, we get a backstage segment between the B team and Kurt Angle setting up something for later in the night, and I'll get to that in a little bit because it is the best part of the whole show, I think. Then we get a match between Kevin Owens and Bobby Roode to follow up from what happened earlier in the night. So Kevin beats Bobby after a very good match, very crafty win by Kevin where he counters the sunset flip attempt into a pinning combination. But then who shows up but Braun Strowman? He shows up and beats up Kevin Owens, beats up Bobby Roode, and stands tall at the end. A very strong look for Strowman throughout the whole night. In that first segment where he just kind of just tossed Finn Balor at 20 feet in the air and beat him up for a bit in his match with Finn. And then this match after the fact with Kevin where he beats up Kevin and Bobby. So very strong look for Strowman. Sami Zayn comes out to make a public apology for what happened last week, but honestly, the person who's responsible for writing that segment should be the one apologizing, if we're going to be perfectly honest here. Sami admits that he lied about the nature of his guests from last week, that the so-called sisters were not in fact women, they were men dressed as women. And so then he says he's sorry, not sorry for what happened last week, because he was just wanting to tell the truth. It's all about interpretation and art. And then out comes Bobby Lashley. He interrupts and he basically makes a challenge to Sami for a match at Money in the Bank. Zayn accepts the challenge, then he gets his hand crushed by Lashley in the handshake. You could have reached this point without last week's shitty segment. I feel you could have done that without the men in drag. Drew McIntyre taking on Shad Gable. I believe this is Drew's first singles match on the main roster since getting called back up after WrestleMania. Pretty good match here. Drew wins with the Claymore. More forward momentum for Drew and Dolph, specifically Drew. Again, like I said last week, curious to see what they're doing with these guys, but they are building up some momentum and giving these guys, especially Drew, some quality wins. We get the whole highlight of the show, in my opinion, the B Team Memorial Day barbecue. This was set up early in the night. I mentioned that the B Team talked to Kurt Angle backstage in a pretty funny bit where like Kurt Angle said, to Curtis, I can hear everything you're saying about me, because the B Team wants that tag title match, but they feel they need to get the blessing from the other tag teams to give them the permission to challenge Matt and Bray for the tag titles. So it's like, what if we throw a barbecue for them? That'll help them give us their blessing. And so you've got the potato chips and the bow dogs and just the way that they're selling the food. First of all, let's just look at all the tag teams you've got in that ring. It's a real sad state of the Raw tag division when this is pretty much everyone except for the champions and authors of pain at this point. I'll get to them in a little bit, but so they're there and they say, okay, well, we fed you guys, so you're gonna let us have the tag title match. Cool, awesome. And so they're about to leave, and then everyone gets mad. So Titus and Heath Slater say, you can't just cut the line to get this tag title match, even though technically they are the most qualified out of everyone else, because at least they have 2 wins in a row. They dump the baked beans onto Bo and the potato salad on Curtis, and we have a food fight on our hands. And while this is all happening, Rhino just sits there chowing down on bologna sandwiches. He's loving life now. This is his best life for Rhino, but he gets double chokeslammed through a table by the B Team, and that's the end of it. But honestly, to hell with anyone who thought this was a bad segment. I thought this was funny. There's lots of comedy, both intentional and some unintentional humor in this one. Honestly, the highlight of the night so far. But my worry about this is, are we just building the B Team up for them to get squashed by AOP when they inevitably return to TV, whenever that is. In the main event, we have our exciting gauntlet match. It's exciting. It's a really exciting gauntlet match. They spent 3 hours, all 3 hours of the show, just pounding this adjective into your head, how exciting the gauntlet match is going to be. Spoiler alert, not nearly as good. Cannot hold a candle to the men's gauntlet match from back in February, but still fine in its own right, I guess. The winner of this match will go on to the women's Money in the Bank ladder match. Number 1 is Bayley. Number 2, Liv Morgan. She's taken out almost immediately with a belly to belly. So then in number 3 is Sarah Logan, the other part of the Riot squad. She's taken out quickly by Bayley. Number 4 is the leader of the squad, Ruby Riot. She eliminates Bayley, and then Dana Brooke at number 5. Something about gauntlet matches that makes everyone more vulnerable to pinfall attempts, like some kind of weird D&D attribute. The action picks up at number 6 when Mickie James comes in. She and Ruby have some good competitive action here, but then Riot eliminates Mickie James. Number 7, the final entrant is Sasha Banks. I always feel that a face coming in last after a valiant effort by the heel is kind of backwards booking. It makes the heel look more sympathetic. I'm pretty sure that's exactly how they booked the last female gauntlet match, like when Nia Jax was beating up everybody and Sasha Banks came in at number 7, and then like they fought for a while and Sasha eventually won. I think it just adds more sympathy to the heel, which I don't think is the intended look. But nonetheless, great stuff between Ruby and Sasha here. Match ends in a really cool sequence, like out of the turnbuckle knee and a powerbomb into a couple of bank statement attempts. Ruby taps. The match really turned around for me once like Ruby got in there, and once it was her and Mickie James. And from then on out, the match really went into a second and third gear. I think the stuff, again, with Ruby and Sasha at the end was probably the best stuff of the whole match. Again, it doesn't hold a candle to the men's match from a couple of months ago, but still, it's what are you gonna do? The fact that the men's gauntlet match went well over an hour and this one went maybe like 20 minutes tops, you can't really compare the two, but it was still a solid main event. SmackDown begins with Samoa Joe making his way into the ring, symbolically climbing the ladder and taking down the briefcase before he even gets a chance to talk. He cuts a promo on Daniel Bryan, makes some biblical references, and he brings up Daniel Bryan's family, which causes Daniel to come out and say, "Hey Joe, let's have the match right now." But then out comes Big Cass in a suit. He's sporting a crutch, still hurting from the heel hook from a couple of weeks ago in London at the hands of D-Bry. He says that Joe and Daniel will not be happening, but instead it's going to be Cass and Joe, which is the match that was originally scheduled to happen all along. But then Cass drops the injury facade and beats up both Daniel and Joe. Backstage, Paige says it'll be a triple threat. It will not be just one replacing the other. So it's not a total bait and switch that we're getting here, because I was originally, before Paige made that announcement, I was very like, ooh, that sucks, because they've been building this whole match for a week and now they're taking it away from us. That sucks. So it's not a pure bait and switch, because like it's still going to be Daniel and Joe in a match, just not the same one they've been hyping for a week. So I guess a triple threat is a decent consolation instead of just not having the match, period. And so we'll see how it goes. Our first match of the night, Shinsuke Nakamura takes on Ty Dillinger, who I think is just here fighting Shinsuke to defend the honor of the number 10. I feel nervous for Ty when the company finally runs out of excuses to trot him out because there's some 10 reference that they want to bring up at some point. Shinsuke Winsuke with the Kinshasa, then he hits Ty in the back of the head with another Kinshasa, then gets the microphone and counts to 10 as practice for Money in the Bank. Strong heel work on display here by Shinsuke here. It was a short match, but it was a good match. We then get a dance off as Naomi takes on Lana. Lana's accompanied by Rusev and Aiden English, and then you've got the Usos coming out to accompany Naomi. The whole thing comes off like a house show gimmick to me, like something that kind of breaks up the monotony. Like back in the day when you didn't have a lot of like good female wrestlers, so it's like, now let's do the bikini contest, now let's do the pillow fight. Obviously not that crude, but that's kind of what this reminded me of in that sense. We get both of them do some dancing. They kind of reach an understand. They do like the back-to-back, they do kind of the co-dancing thing going on, and then out of nowhere, Lana hits Naomi with a neck breaker. A scuffle ensues between the men and the women. The faces, the Usos and Naomi, stand tall in the end. It was a little silly, but it was also different, and I kind of like that. It helped progress some of the participants of the female Money in the Bank ladder match. I was just glad to see some intermingling between the male and female wrestlers on the show. It happens so rarely these days, so it's very refreshing to me when I do see that happen. 6-man tag team match as the New Day take on Bar Mitzvah. This, I think, was the best match of the night. Great work by all 6 guys involved. They really brought it here. Big E hits The Miz with a big ending out of a tilt-a-whirl to win the match for the New Day, and we still don't know who of the New Day is going to be in that men's ladder match at the pay-per-view, and based on what I heard on commentary on Tuesday, it sounds like we're not going to find out until the pay-per-view. Up next, Asuka takes on Mandy Rose, but first, Sonya Deville hits X during Asuka's entrance and comes in and lays her out from behind on the ramp. champ. I think Mandy Rose, boy, she's getting quite the push from the looks of things, because she's got her own unique entrance with the whole vignette border, the blurry filter on the sides. No one else is getting that. The custom lower third name key, not everyone gets one of those. And then, of course, this competitive match with Asuka. They really seem to see a lot in her, and so this match, I think, really proved it here. And by the way, Mela is mentory. Commentary, that is. You know, they can't all be winners. She was very annoying on commentary, which I think was by design, but she mentioned like literally every other sentence, if not more so, how she beat Charlotte twice. Like, the phrase beat Charlotte twice was repeated no fewer than 50 times in the course of this match, I think. I guess that's supposed to be helpful for the heel character to get more over as a grating heel, but I think on commentary that's a little too much. Asuka wins with the Asuka lock. She has to stare down with Carmella, and that's that. Main event time as Daniel Bryan takes on Samoa Joe and Big Cass in a triple threat match. The winner will get the last spot in the Money in the Bank match for the men's side. Good to see Cass has seemingly dodged a bullet, because last week it seemed that he may have re-injured his ACL, which I thought, shit, that's terrible timing, that's terrible luck. I really hope that's not true, but it turns out he's doing okay, so just I hope he takes care of himself to avoid further injury. Please, no more big, gratuitous, over-the-top rope bumps, you silly goof. Really good match here. Daniel hits the knee plus on Cass, but Joe grabs him in the Coquina clutch and wins the match that way. So he's now in the Money in the Bank ladder match. Cass lays out Daniel once again with a big boot to wrap up the show. I'm kind of surprised that Cass didn't win this match, considering he was added to it, and in the end, the same two guys who were advertised all week were involved in the finish. Joe choking out Daniel Bryan. Maybe in a way this kind of deflects some of like the heat off of Daniel for losing here, so it's not like he didn't lose 100%, you know, clean to Joe, but I don't know. To me, that's kind of like, well, 6-1, half dozen the other. What difference does it make if Cass is in the match or not, if Daniel's going to lose either way? Time now for me to decide which show won for the week, Raw or SmackDown. This week, I'm going to go with SmackDown. Once again, I think it was a much stronger show. I think there was a lot of stuff going on. Lots of storyline progression without a bunch of like matches and rematches and like variations of that kind of thing. It's like you get the sense that storylines were progressing, but you weren't seeing a lot of like contact between certain competitors. Like, you didn't see AJ and Shinsuke in the same room together in this show. AJ cuts a promo and Shinsuke does his match with Ty, that sort of thing. I think it was just much more varied than what we saw on Raw. You know, the dance-off, like I said, it wasn't like a spectacular thing, but it was different, and I kind of like it when they shake up the monotony of just match. Six-man tag was a great match. Joe and Daniel and Cass was a fine main event. The one thing I didn't like about SmackDown was this kind of a slight bait and switch of Joe and Daniel. Yeah, I would have much rather much rather liked just to see Joe and Daniel in singles action, because they've been plugging that all week, than to see Big Cass get thrown into it. I get why they did it, but I thought it was just kind of like, that's a minor annoyance. With Raw, I like Nia's new character. I really loved sassy heel Nia, but the timing of which that she has made this turn seems completely out of left field. It makes absolutely no sense based on what we just got invested in literally like less than 2 months ago with her and Alexa Bliss and the whole anti-bullying thing, and now she's being a bully. What is happening anymore? Up is down, black is white. I don't get it. Again, the B Team barbecue I thought was the highlight of the whole show on Monday. I like funny in my wrestling, and so when funny works, brother, it works. I think this worked on so many levels. On the women's gauntlet match, I thought it really picked up, like I said, by the second half of it, once Mickie James and Ruby Riott got involved, and then I think just it kind of the whole latter half of the match really elevated the whole thing, the sum of its parts. But the first hour of the show to me was just kind of forgettable, like 2 straight DQ finishes after relatively competitive matchups here. I don't think, I kind of expected that Finn and Braun wasn't going to end conclusively no matter what after what happened last week. And, I wouldn't have minded seeing Seth going over clean on Jinder or whatever. I don't think that Jinder would have hurt too much from getting a loss, but I guess we're going to, and like now with Elias getting thrown in, where's Jinder going to fit in with that? And also, where's Poochie? Where's Roman Reigns? Was he there at all on Monday? I'm trying to think about it. I don't think Roman Reigns is there. Am I wrong? Let me know what you guys thought about Raw and SmackDown this week in the comments section below, and be sure to vote which show you thought was better in the gimmick in the upper right hand corner of your screen. Be sure to thumbs up this video if you like it, subscribe to Wrestling with Regret, buy the t-shirts at ProWrestlingTees.com, and check out Patreon.com/WrestlingWithRegret for exclusive perks and bonus content. I'm Bryan Zane, and I'll see you next time.